just got into my cabin and I'm taking a walk around the grounds, soaking all this beautiful weather. Very much needed to get outside after a very long week of work. Just very much looking forward to a couple nights of getting away and unplugging. Yeah, so I wanted actually to make this weekend a little bit of a art retreat for myself, because I feel like I've been working really hard at my day job and I've been having a hard time working on my own personal stuff and for YouTube. So looking forward to this, just to get away after all the craziness. last night I worked on some of the line and shape play. In particular, instead of drawing on my iPad, I decided to draw on my sketchbook. This was the organic blobs. I'm not really doing this in the specific order that Lisa Bardot has on her list, but I noticed I started playing here, I was filling it in, and then I just started drawing blobs. And then I decided to use a thinner pen or like thinner marker on the side. And once I started doing that, I noticed I actually was like seeing little characters. So I was like making these little wormy guys, you know, and then thinking about breakfast, because who doesn't love breakfast? And then I was trying to do the circles and dots one, and I was trying to do like making a character, and personally I was just kind of hating the marker that I was working with, so that just kind of feel like turned into a hot mess. But it did trigger some inspiration with almost like creating these donuts. So then I started over and I created this entire page, and I just think it's cute, and I'm thinking I'm going to take this even a step further and put it into my iPad and create a pattern out of it. But this just being like a rough line sketch, just playing around. And then this one was the drips and drops, and same thing, kind of like the organic blobs, but that's kind of what I was playing with. And then doing the waves and undulations, just messing around with the shapes of it, and even like this looks like a little dinosaur head or something. This reminds me of like a little ghost. And then the triangles I didn't do the triangles and squares, but there's still time. But here's the triangles. I was thinking almost like little chips for like chips and salsa. And then the arcs and ovals, which I basically just did the arcs and was making a pattern out of this as well. So yeah, that's where I'm at.